Long before kingdoms carved their names into stone, and long before emperors claimed they ruled the world, there were places where even the bravest hunters refused to walk after sunset. Among endless forests where ancient trees swallowed the light and cold winds carried whispers older than memory, another ruler waited. It did not wear a crown, it did not command an army, yet entire villages disappeared because of its hunger. They called it the Wendigo. Every generation told the same warning. Never travel alone when winter becomes silent. Never answer a voice that sounds like someone you love. Never follow footsteps that appear where no living creature should be. The stories claimed the Wendigo had once been a man. A desperate hunter trapped by endless snow with no food and no hope. As his family slowly faded before his eyes, he broke the oldest law of humanity and chose survival over mercy. The moment he committed that unforgivable act, something ancient answered from the darkness. His body stretched higher than any ordinary man. His bones twisted until every movement sounded like cracking branches. His heart froze forever, and with it, all traces of compassion vanished. Hunger became his only purpose, but the curse carried one cruel punishment. No matter how much he consumed, he could never feel satisfied. Every victim only made the emptiness inside him grow larger. Travelers crossing frozen valleys would sometimes notice giant footprints surrounding their camps when morning arrived. Yet nobody remembered hearing a single sound during the night. Hunters found broken weapons scattered across the snow while their owners were never seen again. Entire caravans disappeared, leaving behind only abandoned sleds and frightened horses that refused to return to the forest. Elders believed the creature could imitate human voices, perfectly calling people deeper into the woods, one careful step at a time, until escape became impossible. Warriors believed strength alone could defeat any enemy. They carried heavy axes, powerful bows, and sharpened spears, believing no beast could survive against disciplined fighters. But the Wendigo was patient. It watched from the shadows, learning every habit, every weakness, every moment when confidence replaced caution. Some warriors claimed they struck the creature directly, only to watch it vanish between the trees before the blow could land. Others swore their arrows passed through empty air, even though they had clearly seen glowing eyes moments before. As winter storms covered every trail, panic spread through isolated settlements. Fires burned all night because families believed bright light kept the monster away. Parents warned children never to wander beyond the last cabin, even during daylight, because the Wendigo needed only a single mistake, a single lost traveler, a single frightened soul. Every disappearance strengthened the legend, until one warrior decided fear would no longer rule his people. He was not the strongest fighter, nor the fastest hunter, but he understood something others ignored. Monsters feed on panic more easily than flesh. Carrying nothing except a spear carved from ancient ash wood, he entered the frozen wilderness alone. Every step echoed through endless silence. Days passed without food. Sleep became impossible because every distant whisper sounded like a familiar voice calling his name. Shadows moved between snow-covered trees, yet no enemy revealed itself. Then as the moon climbed above the forest, the silence finally ended. Two burning eyes opened within the darkness, towering higher than any living man. The hunt that had terrified generations was about to become a battle remembered for centuries. The frozen wind stopped as though the entire forest itself had begun to listen. The warrior tightened his grip around the ancient spear, while the towering shape slowly stepped into the pale moonlight. Its body was impossibly thin, yet every movement carried terrifying strength. Long arms almost touched the snow, and twisted antlers stretched toward the dark sky. Its empty eyes burned with endless hunger, and every breath surrounded the air with icy mist. The Wendigo did not charge. Instead, it circled silently, studying the man the same way a wolf studies wounded prey. Suddenly the creature spoke with the voice of the warrior's own father, calling him by the childhood name nobody else could have known. For a single heartbeat, doubt entered his mind, and that was enough. The monster vanished. Only the sound of footsteps raced through the forest from every direction. Branches snapped behind him, then beside him, then above him, yet nothing could be seen. Every instinct screamed that he was being hunted. He forced himself to remain still, remembering the oldest lesson of the village elders. Never chase what wants to be followed. The silence returned. Then, without warning, the Wendigo attacked like a falling tree. Its claws shattered the spear shaft and hurled the warrior across the frozen ground. Before the creature could strike again, he rolled beneath its enormous reach, grabbed the broken piece of ash wood, and drove it deep into the monster's shoulder. A scream, unlike any human voice, echoed across the mountains, sending flocks of birds into the night sky. Black blood stained the white snow, but instead of weakening the creature, only became faster. It moved between the trees so quickly that it seemed to disappear completely. Attacks came from impossible angles, each one powerful enough to split ancient trunks. Hunters once believed the Wendigo could become the wind itself, and in that terrible moment, the old stories no longer sounded impossible. The warrior realized no ordinary battle could defeat something born from an ancient curse. Victory would belong not to the strongest, but to the one whose will refused to break. Hours passed beneath endless snowfall until both hunter and monster stood exhausted. The Wendigo had suffered many wounds, yet its hunger still burned brighter than fire. It lowered its head and spoke again, this time using the voice of the warriors. Mother promising warmth, food, peace, and everyone he had ever lost waiting somewhere beyond the trees. Many before him had accepted those whispers and vanished forever. But he closed his eyes, ignored every memory, and charged forward with the last broken fragment of his weapon. Using every remaining ounce of strength, he drove the sharpened ash wood directly into the frozen heart hidden beneath the creature's ribs. The forest exploded with a cry so powerful that snow fell from every branch around them. The Wendigo staggered backward, its towering body beginning to crack like ancient ice. Dark mist poured from every wound, while the burning light inside its eyes slowly faded. At sunrise, the monster was gone, leaving behind nothing except scattered bones frozen into the earth and the enormous antlers resting where the battle had ended. The warrior returned alone, carrying one silent warning. Evil can be wounded. Courage can overcome terror. But hunger born from human darkness can never truly disappear. For many winters, the people believed the nightmare had finally ended. Children laughed outside their homes once again. Hunters walked deep into the forest without fear, and the ancient warnings slowly became nothing more than stories told beside warm fires. The broken antlers of the Wendigo were placed inside a sacred shelter as proof that even the darkest curse could be defeated. Generations passed, and the name of the lone warrior became a legend greater than any king. Yet the oldest elders never celebrated for long. They understood something. The others refused to accept. Monsters born from hatred do not simply vanish, they wait. The first sign came during the coldest winter anyone could remember. Snow buried entire villages. Rivers froze into silent roads of ice, and strange footprints appeared once more, leading into forests where no living animal had walked. Shepherds reported hearing familiar voices calling from the darkness. Travelers vanished only a few hundred steps from their camps. Search parties returned empty-handed, speaking of endless whispers echoing between the trees. Some claimed they saw glowing eyes watching from impossible distances, while others swore the shadow they followed never left footprints at all. Fear spread faster than the winter wind, and the old stories returned stronger than ever. Then an aging storyteller opened a forgotten bundle wrapped in animal skin. Inside rested the broken spearhead that had once pierced the frozen heart of the beast. Alongside it lay a warning carved into ancient wood. The Wendigo is not one creature. It is a curse every soul consumed by endless greed, hatred, or desperate hunger can become its next home. The people finally understood the terrifying truth. The battle fought generations earlier had never destroyed the evil. It had only stopped one body carrying it. Somewhere beyond the frozen valleys, another lost soul was already changing. Every cruel choice, every act of betrayal, every moment when survival became more important than humanity, fed the curse once again. That was why the legends never disappeared. They were not written to frighten children. They were written to remind every generation that the greatest monsters are often born from ordinary people making impossible decisions. Even today, explorers crossing the northern wilderness sometimes report hearing voices that should not exist, calling their names through empty forests. Rangers occasionally discover enormous footprints circling abandoned camps before vanishing into untouched snow. Scientists dismiss the stories as imagination, while local tribes simply shake their heads and refuse to travel those lands after sunset, because some knowledge survives, not through books, but through survival. Whether the Wendigo truly walks among the trees or exists only inside the darkest corners of the human mind remains a mystery. But one lesson has endured for centuries. If the forest suddenly falls silent, if the wind begins to whisper with the voice of someone you love, if hunger or greed ever promises that one terrible choice will solve every problem, turn around and leave without looking back. Because some legends are remembered not because they happened once, but because they are always waiting for the next person willing to become the monster. The greatest horror was never the creature itself. The greatest horror was realizing that it had once been human,